soft, warm light, casting a golden hue on the walls adorned with pictures and memorabilia. A pen slipped from the edge of her desk and fell, bouncing softly on the floor. A diary, slightly ajar, was nudged open by the breeze, pages fluttering until it rested on a specific entry. Standing by the shoreline at sunset, Mira felt the wind gently tousling her hair as she gazed longingly at the sea. The waves crashed softly, creating a soothing backdrop. That's me, Mira, a young, dedicated, and mischievous lady. I always dreamed of telling stories, not realizing the most important one would be mine. In her cozy room, surrounded by photographs, Mira picked up a picture and smiled nostalgically. When people ask me what the most painful experience of my life is, I say losing my father at a young age. My mom was always there for me, but she could never fill the void he left. I loved him dearly. We went to the beach together, played hide and seek, and our moments of scolding and laughter. Mira sat on her bed, opened her diary, and carefully placed a family photo inside. She looked at the picture thoughtfully. This is me, my boyfriend, my mom, my girlfriend, and my friends. But someone is missing. My dad. Sometimes I can't believe the camera captured this moment, pointing at Caleb, who seems not to be part. The one thing I wished for the least and yet the most was to be loved without having my love returned. Mira poured herself a glass of juice and took a deep breath, as if preparing herself for the journey ahead. And so my story begins. Mrs. James was setting the dining table in the morning. Mira, outside on the veranda, peeked through the window. "You can come in and do what you are doing," Mrs. James called, preparing the dinner table. "I am trying to see if Felix is coming because I don't want to miss his car," Mira responded, starting to do her makeup. "You must not," Mrs. James blushed. Mira made a childish face. "Mom, it's not what you're thinking." She sat down and started to eat. "Okay, not what I'm thinking. There are cars in the compound, but you prefer riding with him," Mrs. James teased. "I hate driving," Mira replied, cleaning her mouth and starting to pack her things to leave as her phone beeped. "Your drugs," Mrs. James said seriously. Mira wanted to refuse, but decided to take them. "I love you, daughter, and give this to him." Mrs. James handed her a food flask. "You are spoiling him," Mira said. "And this is yours too." Mrs. James handed another food flask. Mira nodded and left immediately. Outside, Philip's car was parked, waiting. Mira approached the car. "You don't know how to do something quickly," Felix commented. "Not again this morning," Mira murmured, handing him the food flask. "Mom gave this to you." "Mom again. This is why I don't want to come in. She pampers too much." Felix chuckled. "That's her," Mira said, trying to enter the car. But he immediately pulled the door for her. "I can do that. Don't be too generous, Mr. Man." He smiled as they entered the car. Felix noticed her lips stained with lip gloss improperly. He stared at her with a mix of lust and love. "What?" Mira asked. He gently used his finger to clean the stained lip gloss and drew her chin closer. Confusion was seen in Mira's eyes, but love and lust in Felix. Her cough stopped him. "You stained your lip, and it's clean now," he said, smiling as he drove away. The entrance of the company was bustling as employees greeted each other. Mira exited the car and joined her colleagues. The taste of business aura and food health hygiene could be sensed in the air. Inside the food research department, Mira was eating while Mrs. Happiness worked seriously on her laptop. "I heard WAEC results are out. How did Chidi do?" Mira asked. "Actually, she did well. All her results are C's and B's, except geography," Mrs. Happiness replied, typing away. "That means she's not good at geography. She doesn't like all the strange tales of Jew," Mira commented. Ayo entered the room with a cheerful energy. "Egbami, the team leader didn't come today again. Maybe we should re-elect," Ayo suggested. "No good morning," Mira teased. Mrs. Happiness smirked. "What's my wife doing today with her computer?" Ayo asked, bumping and crossing his hand around Mrs. Happiness' neck. "Na mama wey born you won't marry," Mira joked. "Don't mind him. He said he will snatch me from Baba Chidi's hand," Mrs. Happiness said, playfully hitting Ayo's hands away. "Ouch! Painful," Ayo exclaimed, snatching a spoon from Mira. "What did you bring today?" he asked. "You can have it," Mira said, smiling. "Wahala," she added. "Ayo, stop this now. You know Mira doesn't eat much. At least let her eat since she's urged to," Mrs. Happiness said. "Leave him. I'm full already," Mira reassured. "You want to eat?" Ayo asked, staring childishly. A lady entered the room. "Good morning. There's an announcement. We are outside. The CEO wants to address us all," she said. Employees gathered in the company compound as the CEO addressed HR and the other department leaders. "Good day, everyone. It is an honor to call all employees of this beautiful company. We are here to discuss an urgent matter which Mr. Udo Alex, our CEO, will address, HR announced. Good, good. Thank you. I greet you all, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for sparing your beautiful time. We are announcing the outcome of the recent meeting with the CEOs, directors, and shareholders. We have experienced a decline in the market, especially due to the new government monetary policy and imposed taxes. Therefore, we will be decreasing 20% of each of our salaries and cutting some royalties and other benefits. Mr. Alex explained. The crowd murmured in disagreement. Just for the certain period of time, he added. Mira noticed Mrs. Happiness leaving the crowd. Listen, listen. There's freedom of speech. Does anyone have an opinion? Mr. Alex asked. You can't remove 20% of our salary. How much are we even collecting? You can cut some of our loyalties or whatever you call it. One of our employees protested. The disagreement grew louder. Mira followed Mrs. Happiness to the backyard. In the hall's backyard, Mira overheard Mrs. Happiness on the phone. Listen, Janet, I have been trying since Mom and Dad left us. No, I am not complaining. I didn't tell you that you should be selling your body. Try to understand me. Calm down. I know school is not easy and you need money. I too need money. Chidi just finished her WAEC. We are just processing her admission to the university. And her father is not supporting her. She needs money too. Have I ever disappointed you? How much? 200K. I thought we had paid for your school. 200K for what? Projects and some clearances. Send the full details of everything. Don't just say and some clearances. Listen, Janet. You will have to add some money to it. I can only pay a little. 20% of our salary has been decreased, and there are no other royalties. You are a Nigerian student. You should have a side hustle, not depend all the time. What? The call ended. Is she angry? Mrs. Happiness asked. Mrs. Happiness! Mira called out. Mira, what are you doing here? Mrs. Happiness asked. When I noticed you were taking long, I decided to look after you. Mira explained. Oh, thank you, darling. Mrs. Happiness replied. Hope everything is okay, Mira asked. Not really. It's Janet again. She needs money. Never mind, Sha. Mrs. Happiness sighed. Caleb, age 30, was practicing shooting at the shooting range. Determination could be seen in his eyes, and his cold aura was palpable. He continued targeting the bull's eye as if facing enemies on the battlefield. A middle-aged man, Mr. Orise, approached him. Sir, you have a meeting at 2 p.m. Mr. Orise informed him. Caleb remained silent. It's a directives meeting. The president must appear, Mr. Orise added. Leave, Caleb said coldly, continuing to shoot. This is the 5th time you are shifting the meeting, and you have other meetings today by 12 p.m. with the Camry company you rescheduled last week. Mr. Orise persisted. Leave, Caleb repeated coldly. I will reschedule everything once again. Elder Patrick says you must visit your therapist and attend all your appointments with your doctor this month. Mr. Orise continued. Leave, Caleb shouted, pointing the gun at Mr. Orise. Mr. Orise ran as Caleb shot one of the signboards, narrowly missing him. The people around scattered, sensing the danger. It was a narrow escape for Mr. Orise. Felix and Becky were sitting in a restaurant, chatting. Their conversation was lively, and love and lust could be seen in Becky's eyes. Mira entered, signaling to them. Good evening, Mira greeted, smiling. Evening, Mimi, Becky and Felix replied in unison, smiling and playing with her chin. Come on, you are making me feel like a baby, Mira said, rolling her eyes. What are you guys talking about? I can see it's interesting, she added. Actually, Felix was telling a love story about his colleague and a new employee. Becky explained. Felix called the server and ordered food. It's quite funny and interesting, Becky continued. I don't like love stories. They always bore me, Mira remarked. How was your day today, Mira? Felix asked, holding her hand and caressing it gently. Becky saw this and felt jealous and disappointed. Good as always, Mira replied, turning to Becky. I saw your missed call, she added. I prepared a meal for Felix, but he rejected it, telling me you had already done it, Becky said, disappointed and jealous. Don't mind him. It's me. It's Mom, Mira said. Becky was happy and continued eating. Friends, I need some support for my orphanage. Are you investing? Mira asked. I was thinking of something else right now. But since you mentioned it, I am sorry I can't help at the moment. I will try later, Felix replied gently. I had liked to invest, Mimi. I will give you some assurance, but I'm literally off right now, Becky said. Sad. The meal continued as they sensed they had disappointed Mira. I was ready to sleep when her phone rang. She picked it up. Becky, she answered. Hi, Mimi. I enjoyed tonight's meal. I am sure you did too. When are you going to the orphanage? Becky asked. This weekend. I am sure the kids will have missed you. There is no day I visit when they don't ask, where is Auntie Becky? Mira replied. I miss them too. Actually, did you know Felix is hiding something? I overheard him. He needs money seriously. I think his business is about to liquidate, and I know you will be willing to help him. But you are off too. I will send you some money. You can give it to him to help out. Don't tell him it is from me. Just for friendship's sake, Becky said. Thank you, Becky. I am sure Felix will be happy to hear this. I will keep it a secret. Becky, Mira began. We are friends, remember. So, Mimi, how are things going with the orphanage? Becky interrupted. What's most important now is Felix. He needs our support, Mira said. Mrs. James entered. On a call? She asked. Mira nodded. Let's chat on WhatsApp, Mira said, hanging up. You are here with my drugs again, he asked her mother. Listen, daughter, you must use your drugs always. I must not lose you as I lost your father. And I don't want you to lose me. Mother loves you, darling, Mrs. James said, watching over her use her pills and looking at the family pictures. Look at your handsome father, she said. They smiled. I miss him. His memories can't fade away. I wish to visit his grave and pay a visit with someone I will love dearly. Someone I will love more than my family and friends, Mira said. Mother loves you more, Mrs. James said, hugging her. I love you, Mom, Mira replied. The scene opened with Mira sitting in her backyard, gazing at the city skyline from the upstairs balcony. The city was bathed in a warm, golden light as the sun rose. Mira was lost in thought, a serene smile on her face. Mr. Felix approached, casually dressed for the weekend. He kissed her neck, making her smile and look back. I looked for you inside. Mom said you were upstairs. Mr. Felix said, it's beautiful, Mira said, smiling, but not as beautiful as your smile, Mr. Felix said, holding her hand gently, looking at her emotionally. What? Is there something on my face? Mira asked, chuckling, noticing his long stare. No, I'm just admiring how beautifully God made you, Mr. Felix replied. Mira smiled and rested her head on his shoulder. I wish I could watch this skyline with the person I love most, more than my family and friends, Mira said. Felix looked confused and disappointed. So how is your business? Your employees and everything, she asked. Well, it's much better. We are planning to offer our shares to the public soon, Felix replied. Becky entered, breaking the moment. Good morning, Mimi and my stubborn cuckoo, Becky greeted. Morning, Becky, Felix and Mira replied in unison. Seriously, if you play that trick that you did last night again, I will lock you in somewhere dark. You will scream as much as you want. You know you hate darkness, Felix said, and they laughed. What happened? Mira asked. I forgot my shop key at home yesterday. When I got to the shop, luckily my partner had opened it. But when I was leaving, I realized I had left my transport fare in my bag. And I didn't have my debit card either. So I called him and told him I fainted, Becky explained. Mira's eyes widened. You are surprised. Why would someone who fainted say I fainted? Becky asked. I wasn't thinking straight. When I heard I fainted, I rushed to the car, leaving my friend's joint. and carried her, Felix explained. Mira laughed. Not funny. Why are you laughing? Felix asked. You two are a joke. I can't even think straight right now, Mira said. An airplane flew overhead, momentarily distracting them. They watched the city skyline in silence. Becky noticed how Felix held Mira's hand and gently held his other hand. Felix, feeling the warmth, gently removed his hand before Becky could feel disappointed. It's the weekend. Let's visit the kids. Ladies, go and dress up. We are going to the orphanage, Felix said, smiling. Felix was left alone, watching the city skyline and staring at his hand where Becky held him. His expression was unreadable, lost in thought. Elder Patrick sat sternly in a high-backed chair, facing Mr. Caleb, who stood near the bar, pouring himself a drink. Your parents would be utterly disappointed in you. You are nothing but a disgrace to this family. You are ruining our heritage. I am old, Caleb. You should be running the family business. But here I am, doing what you should be, Elder Patrick said. Mr. Caleb silently took a sip of his drink, ignoring Elder Patrick. See, alcohol again. You won't just disappoint us. You are disappointing yourself, Elder Patrick said, raising to his feet. Elder Patrick moved closer, using his staff to knock the drink out of Mr. Caleb's hand. The glass shattered on the floor. Mr. Caleb's eyes flared with anger. What? Do you want to fight an old man? Shoot me, as you always do to others, Elder Patrick challenged. Mr. Caleb clenched his fist and stormed out of the room, leaving Elder Patrick and Mr. Orisha behind. You didn't do anything wrong, sir, but maybe you should have tamed your anger, Mr. Orisha said, patting Mr. Patrick on his back. I am getting older every day. I don't think I can do more than this. I feel like I have disappointed my son, Elder Patrick said sadly. You have done your best, sir. They will know you have tried and be grateful for being by their side, Mr. Orisha reassured him. Mira, Becky, and Felix arrived at the orphanage, children rushing out to greet them, their faces lighting up with joy. Mimi, Coco, Becky, the kids shouted in chorus, hugging them enthusiastically. Wow, look at these kids, so healthy as always. Your Superman is here, Felix exclaimed. Coco, Superman. The kids responded in chorus. Your Coco, Superman. Your ladybug, Becky, and your super lady, Mimi, brought weapons to save the world and kill all monsters, Felix said. The children were curious as Becky opened the car trunk, revealing a variety of snacks and goodies. Caregivers approached to help with the foodstuffs. Good morning, Mimi, Mr. Felix and Becky. What a surprise visit, Mama Joy said. Yeah, it is, Mira replied, smiling. Your boyfriend is always amazing, Mama Fluffy commented, watching Felix play with the children. Before Mira could respond, the children dragged her inside the orphanage house. Inside the orphanage's living area, Mira and the caregivers were discussing recent developments. Mama Fluffy, did the doctor deliver the new food timetable? Mira asked. Yes, he did. I called you when he came, but your phone was off. Here it is. Mama Fluffy replied, handing her the timetable. Perfect and healthy, Mira said, observing the timetable. What about Bola and her heart disease? She asked, looking through the hallway. We are giving her medication. It's so sad. She has only 6 months left. The couple came to adopt her, but we didn't allow it as you instructed. This is the 5th couple insisting on adopting her despite her disease, Mama Joy explained. None of us can afford to lose such an intelligent and genius girl. I have been trying my best to find her the best doctor. I am sure we will have good news soon, Mira said sadly. Amen, Mimi. We need more facilities in this orphanage. Why can't we call some charity clubs and cooperatives for help? Mama Fluffy suggested. No, we don't need anyone's help. I am here for everything. I will do all I can to provide the amenities and facilities needed this year before it ends. Mira said, spotting 2 kids in the garden, one looking sad. Oh boy, why are you alone? She asked, concerned. This is Chukwudi. Why is he alone, Bola? She asked. No one wants to play with him. They say he is blind. He is alone and sad, Bola replied, patting Chukwudi's shoulder. Chukwudi, Mimi is here, Bola said. Mimi, Chukwudi responded, trying to hug her. Mimi hugged him emotionally. Mira loves you, Chukwudi sighed. I love you, Mimi. Others say I am blind, he said. You are not blind, Chukwudi. You are visually impaired. Chuchu can see a little, Mira explained, and he nodded. You can see me, right? She asked, smiling as he nodded. Everyone loves Chuchu, she said, carrying him to the playground. At the playground, Mira, Felix, and Becky played with the kids. Kids! Mira called out, and they shouted her name in response. Why don't you play with Chuchu? She asked, and they looked innocent. Mimi loves everyone. Do you love me? She asked, and they nodded. Love is important. Doing things together make everything beautiful. Playing together brings unity. Mimi wants you to love Chuchu and everyone. Will you? She asked, and they nodded. Let's play a game, she suggested, signaling to the caregivers. The game was fun. The kids formed a cycle. The attacker and the defender were blindfolded, and they used a bell to guide them. It was a joyous scene. Felix caught Mira romantically, lifting her like a newlywed. Everyone cheered, including Becky, who watched with a hint of jealousy. Thank you for watching. Please comment, like, share, turn on your notification button for more videos.